What's up, everyone? Welcome into Stadium Drive Week 12, and it's round 2 of the playoffs. And tonight we're in Division 3, and we have the number 3 Granville Blue Aces against the number 6 Tri-Valley Scotties. Division 3, Region 11. Will Ford here with Aaron Sprague. And Aaron, this might be the best game on our schedule of the games that we're covering in the playoffs. This might be the best of the bunch because we've got the MVL Big School Division Champion and the LCL-Buckeye Division Champion. This is going to be, I think, one of the best games that we're going to be covering this week.
Yeah, I really like this matchup. I love these two teams. I love the programs and what they do every season and the success they've had. They're pretty close in proximity, distance-wise from Dresden to Granville. They semi-have a connection with the fact that Justin Buttermore left Tri-Valley, came to Granville before moving on to Upper Arlington, and now Coach Wes Schrader, he is here at Granville doing an unbelievable job. And the fact that the Aces, we talked about them all season long, especially when we were here for Stadium Drive against Heath. But the fact that this was supposed to be their down year and they're 10-0.
Yeah.
They're 10-0. They know how to
now.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
They know how to win here.
Tri-Valley, that Lyle might throw the ball a little bit more over the middle of the field.
Right.
Jane Wallace might be able to find some more in between the tackles and whatnot. So it could benefit Tri-Valley's offense a fair bit, but Granville's offense is just as potent.
Right.
And that Beckett Long to Dante Verasso connection is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a shootout. It could be a high-scoring affair. I mean, when I think about Tri-Valley's roster, I just think of playmaker after playmaker.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them. You shut down a couple, two more pop up. So they have a lot of playmakers. I really love the play of Chris Gargis on the defensive line for Tri-Valley.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Tri-Valley this year was week 9 at Sheridan. It was a week 9, right? Week 9. He was a monster, and he's been a monster ever since. Heck, for all I know, he's been that way all year. But I know the last few games, his presence has been felt. He has just really put pressure on the quarterback single-handedly. And if he can have that his way tonight and have success, Beckett Long might be on the run a little bit. That might be able to be enough to shake up whatever Granville's trying to do offensively.
Yeah, and Beckett Long, I mean, he is pretty good with his legs.
He is.
I mean, he's a great runner of if there's design runs, he's great at that, but he can also improv a little bit too. He's great at extending plays and looking downfield. I mean, he found Verasso 9 times for $180 and 4 touchdowns last week. So, and Verasso did have an injury kind of mid-season.
He missed 2 games.
Missed a couple games, came back, and he has looked as fired up as ever, and especially last week against Bexley in a dominant, I think 53-27 win.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks really good. Beckett Long looks really good. It seems to be those two offensively. The running game maybe not as potent as it was before without Kirby, but they can still do a ton of things on offense and likewise defensively. They just got to figure out to stop the playmakers, like you said, that Tri-Valley has, like Keaton Hahn as well. Like the last 2 weeks, he's just been on a serious heater. 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, and so he's another guy that Granville's going to have to stop.
Well, they have a lot of dudes. You have Eric Neal out at tight end, obviously a great blocking tight end, but he can also catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, offensively, they do have a lot of weapons that are really coming into their own. I mean, the fact that Tri-Valley, they came in with 2 losses on the season, but they 2 tough losses to Clinton Massey, one of the best teams in the state, and then also, was it DeSales?
Yes.
So
that's
2
correct.
losses. So they know what it's like to lose. They know what it feels like to lose, and they picked up the pieces. And the one thing I've been around Tri-Valley football a long time, dating back to the early 2000s. The thing about Tri-Valley, traditionally, they get better every week. They never peak too early, and they always make improvements every week. So now we'll see if they're peaking as we go into it. But what's also exciting about round 2 of the playoffs, this is technically the original round 1. Now we have 8 teams in the region.
Right.
They expanded the playoffs to 16. Now we're down to 8. So this is kind of where, in my opinion, some of the real football is going to start.
Yeah.
The matchups are all going to be pretty good. You might have a couple blowouts still, but you're going to see some good football now all across the state. And we're excited to be here, but, of course, a handful of other games around the area that really show a lot of promise. One of them is the former Scotty coach, Justin Buttermore, Upper Arlington, hosting powerhouse Pickerington Central. That game could be a toss-up.
That's a push. That's a pick 'em either way. Yeah, like if you're a betting person, like I don't know which way you go.
Right.
That's going to be a really good one.
A really good game. And then another game to watch, Dublin Kaufman hosting Olentangy Liberty. Kaufman got them the first time around, but Liberty just upset the
Number
4 seed?
3 seed.
3 seed?
3 seed Finley.
Right. So as a 14 seed?
Yes,
is that how it works?
that's correct.
So the 14 seed on a 2-point conversion to win the game.
Philly special, you know.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, to score it takes a ton of guts to do that in that situation. It's one thing in a regular season game if you're going to go for 2 to win it. where maybe not a whole lot's at stake. But if you don't get this 2-point conversion, you're going home. Season's done.
I love it. I love the call.
And so you love the call. They converted it, a front flip into the end zone. It was our number 2 play of the week.
Should have been number 1.
I would think I think it should have been number 1.
I got to check with who picked that list.
But in our max effort plays of the week, it was in there, of course, and front flip into the end zone and an upset win and unbelievable stuff. So
it really was. But again, so many great games. We're at, I don't remember, 7, 8, 9 games tonight across the state. Centerville's hosting Springfield's one of them.
Yeah.
Sheridan is at home against Gallia Academy. That's one to watch.
Yes, indeed.
A matchup with the Blue Devils there in Thornville.
Sheridan's offense has been playing very well, but their defense appears to be a little bit more susceptible than it has been during the regular season. They had 4 straight shutouts. Right. They were playing really, really well, but now some teams have been able to maybe find a few spots where they can attack and put up some points. So that's going to be very interesting to see how Sheridan shores up their defense this week. So,
hey, let's just ask Bryce live on camera. Bryce, who picked the top plays this week, and why was this Philly special not number 1? Jeez, our main guy, Sean Fisher.
Wow, that's real. That's unreal.
I would have never expected that out of him.
I tell you what, he picked some things that.
All right.
I mean, so the number 1 play of the week was like a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown, Upper Arlington.
Which is a great play.
Great play, but a 2-point conversion Philly special.
For an upset like that, oh, gosh.
I love how we're dogging our own guys on camera.
It happens. It happens. And what's funny is he does such great work 99% of the time, but that one play, we're going to have to talk about that later.
That's all right. But, hey, we've got a great game for you tonight, and so make sure you follow us on all the socials for updates on all the games you're looking to follow in the playoffs. Another game that we're featuring on our show tonight, number 9 Heath in Division 5 is traveling to number 1 Ironton, and they were basically just down there last week at Portsmouth West in a game that they won. They were down 9, battled back, outscored Portsmouth West 20-6 in the second half. That got a big win. A lot of guys played well, and now they basically go back to the same spot in Ironton, number 1 seed. A lot of playmakers on that offense. So we talked to head coach Tim Ward this week as well, and I mean they're fired up for that game because the travel doesn't bother them at all. They'll go play anyone, anywhere, anytime. Yeah. And, listen, I think as a 9 seed, I think they're better than a 9 seed. And I think they're going to give Ironton a tough matchup tonight.
Yeah, he's got a tough draw. As you said, you have the interview with Coach Ward and, of course, Coach Schrader and Coach West here. But, yeah, Heath, great season, one of the best teams they've had, and they are going to have to earn the next round.
Yep.
Going to Ironton, one of Ohio's all-time great programs as the number 1 seed. But I tell you what, if you win, it's going to be pretty special. I want to read a text that the Coach Ward sent me earlier this week. I was talking to him about the playoffs, and he sent me back a message, and I thought this was really impactful. It shows you how ready they're going to be. He says, I've been coaching 19 years in preparation for this opportunity. So,
yeah,
it's a big game for him. He knows it's a great team he has, and they're going to give it their all to try to upset the Tigers.
Think about this, too. I mean, if they were to win that game, the winner of that game plays the winner of Harvest Prep West Muskingum. And if West Muskingum were to knock off the number 4 seed Harvest Prep, then you could have Heath, West Muskingum, it's great for us because it's 2 teams that we cover, obviously.
Right.
But, I think that would be an electric matchup if that were to happen.
Oh, yeah, and it would be 2 big upsets to get there. Muskingum. If West Muskingum could knock off Harvest Prep tonight, it would be the first time they've ever won 2 playoff games in a season.
Yeah.
They're coming off that big win last week over Union Local. I know they're prepared. So it's the playoffs. Anything can happen, Will. Pumped to be here. Special shout out to our sponsor, Max Effort Muscle, for all they do. Best tasting protein on the planet. Check them out, maxeffortmuscle.com. And, of course, I want to show some love to Alfie's.
Yes,
remember
absolutely.
Alfie's in Granville.
Shouted them out last week.
Yeah, shouted them out last week. Another shout out this week. Great spot for some sandwiches and a bunch of different.
The protein bites that we had last week, they were fire.
Protein bites.
So good.
We need sponsored by the Protein Bites straight up.
Yes.
But, yeah, Alfie's in Granville. Check them out if you're ever in this nice little village here off of Route 16. But, let's get to it.
Yeah, so before we hop into tonight's matchup with Granville and Tri-Valley, let's talk to head coach Tim Ward of the Heath Bulldogs and getting his team ready for this number 1 seed Ironton. And so here it is, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Stadium Drive, Week 12, Round 2 of the playoff, babies. Thanks so much for being here. All right, we're here with head coach Tim Ward of the Heath Bulldogs going into round 2 of the playoffs, week 12, and in week 11 defeating Portsmouth West 27-15. And coach, really appreciate your time being here on our show this week. And in week 11, you had a 9-point deficit in the second quarter, outscored the 20-6 in the second half. Talk about the resilience of your team in that game to come back, battle back, and your defense forcing 3 turnovers to really set up your offense with shorter fields and just, come out of week 11, round 1 of the playoffs with a win.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a little bit early, but I mean, there was never a time where I felt like we were down and out. We knew that we were in a situation where it was going to be a good game in a dogfight, and I mean, our guys just showed a lot of heart and a lot of desire, and like you said, resilience. I feel like when you have athletes on the field that we have, we're never out of it. So.
Dalen McIntyre is, I feel like, kind of been one of the unsung heroes for your team this year. And in the game last week, 90 receiving yards and a touchdown. He had a sack. He blocked an extra point, tipped a pass that led to an interception. And I feel like he's just been doing that all year for your team, catching passes. He's been running in the backfield as well, and then just all over the field defensively. But what do you make of just his effort this year, offensively, defensively, being all over the field? And he's made a ton of plays for your team, and I feel like he doesn't get a lot of the recognition like some of your other guys do, like your quarterback Braden Bayless and a lot of these guys.
The kid's an absolute stud, first of all. I mean, not only a stud of a football player, but a stud of a human being. I mean, he buys into everything that we're trying to preach. He is a great team player. He comes excited, ready to work every day, always having fun, always has a smile on his face. And so he's just a fun kid to coach to begin with. But when he puts on the pads, man, he plays at a different level. He's an aggressive, physical football player, extremely athletic, plays from the defensive line, and makes plays all over the place. Has the speed and the athleticism to be able to run anybody down. Can get down the field, can run jet sweeps, can run out of the backfield. Yeah, I mean, does just a little bit of everything for us, even returns kicks for us. I mean, got 2 kick returns for touchdowns this year. So, yeah, I think he is a little bit of an unsung hero, maybe a guy that doesn't quite get the recognition that he deserves. But, I mean, we got those guys all over the field, and he's just one that continues to make plays and play his heart out every week.
Now you kind of have a tough draw with your postseason run here because you've got a trip to Ironton next, the number 1 seed, and it's a 2.5-hour drive, which obviously that's probably a lot further than than you would ever travel for a regular season game for the most part. So does a trip that long on a Friday for a playoff game, does that affect you in any way, affect your team in any way, as far as like physically, like you sit on a bus for that long, 2.5 hours, and you're just raring to go, ready to play? But does a trip that long affect your guys in any way?
It does somewhere, but we prep our guys for that kind of stuff. We talk to them throughout the week and give them the heads up that it's going to be a long trip. I mean, when you look into this Friday, we're going back basically 15 minutes away from where we just were this past Friday. So now, I mean, our guys know if we want to go to where we want to go and we want to try and ever get an opportunity to play in Canton, we're going to have to drive. We're going to have to ride bus rides and things like that. Not everybody can be a county game, and I think we kind of get spoiled a little bit in Licking County because we have 11 really. We kind of get spoiled in that fact that we get to play a lot of close games. But no, I mean, we'll play anybody. We'll travel anywhere we need to, and that's kind of the mindset that we try and take into it.
Now, your defense will have to step up again this Friday because the Ironton's got some good guys on offense. Sean Terry has 1,100 all-purpose yards as a wide receiver, and their running back Zane Williams, he's only 5'8", 185, so a smaller guy, but he's a big play threat. Defensively, what are you doing to prep for what those two guys do? Because obviously you got to have everybody's got to account for them. You got to have guys gang tackling, following the football. What do you do defensively to match up against what they do and force turnovers like you did last week against Portsmouth West?
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 answers to that. And the first answer might be a little bit cliche, but we worry about focusing on us, what we need to do to get better. We talked to our guys about things that they can do to improve from week to week. We're not changing a whole lot. We're doing what we do that's made us successful so far, and trying to get better each and every day. And so our guys have really adopted that approach and have bought into that aspect of what we're trying to do to them, and trying to preach to that fact that the team that matters the most for us is us, and getting better every day. But then, obviously, their team, and they've got athletes all over the place. They've got guys that they can get the ball to. Obviously, Sean Terry, like you said, and Zane Williams. But I mean, Ayers Pittman and all those guys as well. They've got guys all over the place that can make a play. But the great thing about football is only one of them have the ball in their hands at a time. So whoever's got the ball, you got to go make a tackle. I mean, it gets that simple. And so we got athletes all over the field as well. So we're going to try and match up with them.
Well, go pull off an upset against the number 1 seed this Friday, Coach. We really appreciate you joining our show this week and really spending time with us all season long. But best of luck. Go get a win. Keep making this deep run in the playoffs, man. And, yeah, we really appreciate the time.
That's the plan. I appreciate you. And go.
Head coach Tim Ward with the Heath Bulldogs here on Stadium Drive. Really appreciate his time this week, and a trip to Ironton on the schedule tonight. Number 9 seed versus the number 1 seed. But I'll tell you what, this Heath team it's really, really talented, and one of the players that we talked about during that interview there, Dalen Mack. And if you take a look, at the bracket for Division 5, I want to take you through that really quick. Division 5, Region 19, and we'll blow this up for you so that way you can really see what we're working with here in Division 5, Region 19. The winner of Heath and Ironton will play the winner of Harvest Prep West Muskingum. And like me and Aaron talked about, that would be huge if it were to be West Muskingum and Heath playing each other in round 3 next week. Huge implications. Obviously, it's win or go home. All the implications are huge all the time. But just to have a chance of 2 teams that we cover in the LCL and MVL to play each other in round 3 of the playoffs would be pretty special. But that's what's on the horizon for Heath. If they were to win this game, they play the winner of West Muskingum and Harvest Prep. But now, let's dive into this matchup tonight. Granville, Tri-Valley. Granville, the LCL-Buckeye champs this year, 10-0. And a year where, talking to Coach Schroeder at the start of the season, before the season, a lot of people didn't think that a lot of people thought this was going to be a down year for the Blue Aces, and that if there's a year to get them, this is it. Well, you blink, and they're 10-0 regular season. Now they're without their best player, arguably, in Kyle Kirby, who is a physical tailback, but also lines up in the slot as a receiver a lot of times. Does so much defensively, though. Is probably a bigger loss defensively. They're without him, but they're still very talented, still very good on both sides of the ball. But they're playing, probably the best team that they've played to this point this season, because Tri-Valley, I think, is playing their best football right now. Tri-Valley, the MVL Big School Division champs, 8-2. Lost to Clinton Massey and DeSales early on in the season, but played a really tough schedule early on, which I think primed them for this moment here. They played. They got down 10-0 early to Sheridan, battled back, won that game 28-17, and they had a slow start, last week in their first round game, but second half they really exploded, and they just seem to be getting ready. I don't even think they have peaked yet. I think they're about to peak. I think this game right here between these 2 Titans, Granville and Tri-Valley, this is the game right here. I think it's going to be a close one. I think a lot of points are going to be put up. And I think it's just going to be so good. But let's talk to head coach Wes Schroeder of the Blue Aces, because obviously Jaden Wallace of Tri-Valley, he's the guy to stop. He's going to get so many touches tonight, obviously. And as the weather gets a little colder, you run the ball a little bit more than you normally would. But Keaton Hahn has also been really good at wide receiver the last few weeks of the season. So Tri-Valley's offense is really potent. How do you go about – you're not going to stop it, but how do you contain it, limit them, so that way it makes it a bit easier on your defense. You get off the field and your offense is on the field a little bit more. But he also talks about the play of his quarterback and wide receiver tandem, Beckett Long, Dante Verasso, and how good they've been really the last couple of weeks, especially last week. So here is head coach Wes Schroeder of the Granville Blue Aces as he gets ready for the Tri-Valley Scotties here on Stadium Drive Week 12, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Going into Week 12, Round 2 of the playoffs, and coming off a huge blowout victory in Week 11, 53-27 against Bexley. And Coach, I really appreciate your time joining our show this week. And you've got Tri-Valley and the Scotties coming to town. But before we dive into that matchup and what your plans are for everything that they do offensively and defensively, I kind of want to talk about the play of your quarterback, Beckett Long, because it seemed like the first few weeks of the season, it was a little bit of a slower start. You relied a lot on your defense to kind of, win you some football games as he kind of eased into the season. But really, since like week 4 or 5 on, he has just really exploded. I mean, last week and against Beckley, 285 yards, 5 touchdown passes, and then he had a rushing touchdown as well. And he's really been doing that the last handful of weeks of the regular season and now into the playoffs. Like, what has gone into this offensive explosion for him and leading your offense?
You're right. Early in the year, we tried easing him into it. So last year as a sophomore, he had almost 0 snaps at quarterback because he played free safety all year, so he didn't get any JV reps as a sophomore. His freshman year, he split JV time with Ernsberger at the time. So he's only playing a quarter or 2 a game as a freshman, and then his 8th grade year he was hurt, so he hasn't really played much quarterback in his life. So dating back to 7th grade, so he's trying to ease him into it, make things simple as possible. He's an extremely smart kid. The best thing about him is he's the ultimate competitor. Ultimate competitors is what we want, and that's Dante in a nutshell. Really, you could see, turn on the film and you could see he's a playmaker. He's the best ball skills I've seen in a long time. He had 4 touchdowns on Friday. Just throwing the ball in his area, he's going to come down with it. He's just gotten better and better every week, and just like Beckett has. And in the defensively, he did have a pick 6 in the last game of the year. And every time the ball touches his hands, it has a chance to go. So when you have that playmaker, it really helps. And I think with those two, why they've kind of turned on the past handful of weeks is, we lost Kyle Kirby, who's an outstanding player himself. But those two kind of knew. Those 3 scored almost all of our touchdowns throughout the year, majority of them. So those two, they had to step up, and they've done that in a big way. And obviously all the guys around him have 2. So it's not just those 3, but those 2 really took that load on. And, like I said, Dante's just, he's special. He's one of a kind. And, we're grateful he's on our side.
Yeah, speaking of the loss of Kyle Kirby, he's just such a physical runner of the football and just mows people down. And I remember being at the game against Heath midway through the season, and he was just running through guys. But what has changed about the philosophy running the football? Because Noah Music has stepped in now at tailback. He's also your kicker, and he's got a heck of a leg. Obviously, we've talked about that many times before. But is there anything philosophy-wise that's changed about the way you want to run the football with him at tailback?
Yeah, Noah's been our running back throughout the year. He's just been more of a blocking back for the early part of the year, and he would get 10 carries a game or whatever it was. And Kyle would go out in space, play the slot, and come in the backfield in situations. But yeah, it's changed. We're just trying to find different ways to pick up, yardage and move the chain. So, whether that's Beckett with his feet or, just quick game or, taking shots or screen game, whatever it is, we're trying to just evolve who we are offensively to give our guys the best chance to move the chains and get in the end zone. So losing Kirby's obviously a devastating blow, but everybody goes through that kind of stuff. You lose people. That's part of this game. It's how you handle it, as a team to kind of go from there. I think the bigger loss is on defense for Kyle. He was such a force in the middle for us, and we're missing him there, but we miss him everywhere. But it is what it is, and we just got to play from here. And we can't control it, so we just got to find a way to, like I said, move the chains and get first downs and touchdowns when we can. So we just got to make plays.
So without him in the middle of the field defensively, how are you planning to stop this Jaden Wallace kid for Tri-Valley, who he had 173 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns in their playoff win last week? And, Keaton Hahn also, he's kind of been on a heater recently at wide receiver. He's 4 touchdowns combined in the last 2 weeks. I mean, what defensively, how do you go about trying to limit the way that they produce offensively? Because Wallace gets the ball in so many ways out in space. He can run between the tackles, got great vision. And then Max Lyle is really spreading it around to all of his receivers.
Yeah, and thanks for reminding me. So that running back's a stud. Yeah, we're well aware of that, and we got to, I mean, I think that's when we get this far in the playoffs. We made our run, or we win games. It's the teams that can, at the high school level especially, is stop the run and run the ball. But yeah, he's a stud. It is what it is. We're going to have to get guys the ball and get them to the ground when we have the chance, and not allow the quarterback to have easy access throws, or make them tight windows, whatever you want to call it. But we want to make it hard on him to make.
Obviously, he's concerned about it. You'd be a fool to not be concerned about a connection like that. But he's confident in his defense that's been playing really well the last couple of weeks. And it seems like they're peaking, towards the right time. And so I think he feels good about his defense, but offensively as well. Jaden Wallace, he's going to get his touches. He's going to be he's always a focal point in the offense, but he's going to be even more of a focal point this week against Granville and the Blue Aces. So Cam West, I think, is ready for this game, and he knows that this is 2 teams that are really, really evenly matched right now. And so it's going to be just so interesting to watch. But here is head coach Cam West of the Tri-Valley Scotties getting ready for the Granville Blue Aces here on Stadium.
All right, we're here with head coach Cam West of the Tri-Valley Scotties going into Week 12, Round 2 of the Division III playoffs. And in Week 11, got a dominant victory, 49-12 against number 11 Buckeye Valley. And Coach, really appreciate your time joining us as always. And kind of a slow start in the first half against Buckeye Valley last week, but then second half really exploded. And Jaden Wallace had almost $175 rushing, 3 touchdowns. And Keaton Hahn, he's on a heater recently. He's had 4 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. And he had 2 touchdowns against Buckeye Valley. But what did you like about the way your team responded after that slow start in the first half, offensively and defensively, to kind of close out Buckeye Valley, have a dominant win, and now you look like you're back in your flow for Week 12?
Yeah, it definitely was a slow start. It's something we always talk about, starting fast, and that was the exact opposite. And I give credit to Buckeye Valley, and I told the kids all week that they watch film too, and they're going to practice and work on things that we're good at and try to take them away. And they did a good job of that in the first half. But what I really enjoyed seeing from our kids when we went in at halftime is there was no panic. It was a situation where we were just calm, and we talked about forgetting what happened in the first half and taking care of business in the second half. And that's a testament to just the kids and the attitudes that we have in kind of the situations that we've been in throughout the year. I mean, if you look at our schedule as a whole, we've lost 2 games, been in the hole, been in dog fights, and we're down 10-0 to Sheridan. So I think we've been in that situation before, and the kids trust in the process. And so it was good to see us at halftime kind of make some small adjustments. People talk about adjustments all the time. Really, we didn't do a bunch of adjustments. We just started playing better in the second half.
Right.
So I think that helped, and it was good to see our kids just bounce back. And defensively, we played really well in the second half and got some turnovers, got some short fields, and scored fast. And that helps when you can get on top quickly in the second half and kind of put the game away early.
Do you attribute that to just kind of like it's playoff nerves? It's, because now, and not that games don't matter in the regular season, but like now it's like do or die. It's win or you go home. Do you kind of attribute that slow start in the first half to just kind of nerves and just kind of, I guess, getting used to that moment, that playoff atmosphere?
Yeah, I think that could be some of it. But I honestly think we didn't play very well. And I do think that Buckeye Valley had a good plan coming in to shut down the run game in the first half, and they wanted to stop Jaden Wallace. They loaded the box, and formationally we were kind of heavy run out of certain formations, and they knew that and put more guys than we could block in the box. So it's I think a mixture of things kind of lead to us starting pretty slow.
Now, like I mentioned, Keaton Hahn 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. What's went into this hot streak that he's been on recently? Because it seems like Max and him they just have a connection going, and it seems like he's looking to him whenever you guys are close to the end zone. He's been making some big plays for you the last couple of weeks in some big games. What's went into just his recent offensive production?
Yeah, I think it's just him and Max being more comfortable together, more reps at practice. And I will tell you, Keaton makes some plays at practice that would be on SportsCenter top 10. He makes some catches and he does it every single week where we just throw the ball up and he's got 2 guys hanging on him and he somehow comes away with the ball. He just has fantastic hands. Like I said, I think Max trusts that if you put the ball close to Keaton, he's got a really good chance to catch it because he's long, he can jump, his catch radius is huge. So you don't necessarily have to be perfect at quarterback and put it in a perfect spot. Just get it up in the air and let Keaton use his athleticism and go get it. So like I said, it's a mixture of things. I think they're being more comfortable. And like I said, just get the ball in Keaton's area, and he's really good at playing the ball in the air.
Now, the defense stepped up in the second half against Buckeye Valley, and it's going to need to step up in a big way really throughout against Granville this week because they're so talented offensively. And Beckett Long had 6 total touchdowns last week, and he is just really, I feel like since week 4 or 5 on, he's really exploded as the signal caller for the Granville offense. And Dante Verasso had 4 receiving touchdowns last week. He's probably the best receiver in the Licking County League, and he had 180 yards receiving. That tandem is really, really good. Defensively, how do you match up against that? Because they're without their running back, Kyle Kirby, so maybe not as potent of a running offense, although they still have some guys that can run the football. But that connection, Verasso and Long through the air, is just lethal. So how do you plan on defending that?
Yeah, I think you go into games like this when you're playing a team that's extremely talented offensively, knowing that you're not going to shut them down. They're going to get theirs. Verasso's they're going to catch the ball. The quarterback's really good. Verasso's really good, and they have other receivers that are also really good. So I think you have to go in with the mindset of, look, they're going to complete balls. We just can't give up gigantic chunk plays, and that's kind of our goal this week is to limit the chunk plays. We can't have Verasso scoring on 80-yard touchdowns. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster for us. So I think just defensively, we got to try to limit and take away some things and be good on third down. When we have a chance to get off the field on third down, we have to get off the field. You can't give these guys too many opportunities to make plays because they are extremely explosive. And like you spoke on their quarterback earlier, man, he's fantastic. He can make any throw you want, and he can run, which adds a different element in their offense. Where when you lose, arguably their best player, the Kirby kid, who is fantastic, I think they're going to run the quarterback a little bit more, which creates a numbers game, and they have an advantage offensively numbers wise because they gain an extra blocker. So it's going to be a challenge, and we know that going in. When you're in week 12 in the playoffs playing a team as talented as Granville and as well coached. I mean, they do some things they just have a good scheme, and their coach does a great job. We're looking forward to the challenge, but we understand that they're going to complete balls. They're going to make plays. That's what good teams do.
The loss of Kirby might be bigger for Granville on the defensive side of the ball because he is just such a tackling machine. He's got a nose for whoever has the ball. He's going and getting them. Do you plan, since he kind of plugs up the middle of what he did was plug up the middle of their defense, is the plan offensively to maybe look for things over the middle of the field a little bit more, run between the tackles instead of maybe bouncing it to the outside? I guess where do you look to go with the football offensively without spilling too many of your secrets here on our show?
Yeah, I don't think it's a secret. I mean, Jaden Wallace is going to get his touches, whether he's inside or outside. I mean, he's kind of been our workhorse. We're obviously looking to get him 20 to 30 touches a game, whether that be inside or outside. He's going to get his touches, and it really doesn't change our game plan as much. Obviously, the Kirby kid's fantastic, but they're kind of plugging and playing, and the kids that they put in those spots are good football players. And one thing I look at when I scout Granville defensively is, man, they are athletic. They're not gigantic, but they have 11 kids on the field that can run sideline to sideline. And their defensive line, not very big, but boy, they're physical. And they're you can tell they're coached really well in all phases, offensively, defensively. And it makes it exciting when you're playing a team defensively as stout as Granville and offensively as explosive as them, because we know we're going to have to play well to win.
Well, the MVL Big School Division champion and the LCL-Buckeye Division champions going to battle this week in Week 12, and it might be the most exciting game of the week, so we're really excited to watch, Coach. But best of luck. Go get a win, man. Move on to round 3, and we really appreciate your time this week and every week prior, so thanks so much.
Hey, thank you very much.
The two playmakers for Tri-Valley tonight on offense, Keaton Hahn on a serious hot streak, 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, and 2 of them coming in their playoff win against Buckeye Valley, 49-12 victory. 2 receiving touchdowns for Keaton Hahn, 3 rushing touchdowns for Jaden Wallace, along with almost 175 yards rushing, a $173, and he's just been a monster all season, but that's a monster showing in a first-round playoff game. And like I said, a slower start for Tri-Valley in the first half of that game, but really exploded in the second half and playing their best football along with Granville coming into this game tonight. And so it's the best game, in my opinion, on the schedule. Obviously, that's why I'm here, because I think it's the best game on the schedule, number 3 versus number 6 in Division 3. It's going to be absolutely incredible. But let's take you through some of the other games that we've got going on our schedule here this week. So we'll start with Eastern and Northeastern Ohio games, round 2 of the playoffs. Let's blow this up for you. All right, so now number 7 Gallia Academy at number 2 Sheridan, Division 4, Region 15. Number 7 Ridgewood at number 2 South Range, D5, Region 17. In Division 5, Region 19, we've got 2 games. Number 5, West M at number 4, Harvest Prep. And number 1, Ironton is hosting the Bulldogs from Heath. And then in Division 6, Region 23, number 1, Garaway, and number 9, East Knox. So going to be a really, really good matchup. And all of these are great matchups, but looking forward to those games. And then we'll get to Central and Western Ohio. Let's get those games pulled up for you as well. So in Division 1, Region 2, we've got 3 games for you. Number 9, Miamisburg at number 1, Olentangy. Number 4, Centerville hosting number 12, Springfield. And then a big one that Aaron mentioned at our show, number 6, Dublin Coffin, and number 14, Olentangy Liberty. And Liberty coming off a huge upset of the number 3 seed. So this one, I mean, Kaufman won earlier in the year, but this could be a really, really good game in Central Ohio tonight. And then in Division 1, Region 3, 2 games. Number 1, Gahanna at number 9, Grove City. And number 4, Upper Arlington hosting number 5, Pick Central. That one is a go either way, a pick 'em. That's going to be a fantastic game. And then, of course, Tri-Valley Granville here tonight. So lots of great stuff on our schedule. But I also want to take you through real quick what's on the line for both these teams tonight, like who they would play in round 3 should they win. So in Division 3, Region 11, this is what it looks like. So you see Granville, Tri-Valley, they're at the bottom. The winner of this game tonight, the number 3 and 6 seed, will play either number 2 London or number 7 Bell Fountain. And Bell Fountain beat John Glenn in round 1. London beat Beechcroft in round 1. So 2 really, really good football teams, extremely, immensely, outstandingly talented. Is that even a word? I don't know, but I'm going to use it anyway. So that's what's on the line tonight, is a trip to well, it wouldn't be a trip to London. Obviously, round 3 and on is neutral sites, but you're playing either London or Bell Fountain in round 3. So that's what's going on here tonight, the winner of this game. It's a little dark now here at the stadium, as you can see behind me, and you can probably see me a little bit better than you did at West End last week. But it's about game time, man. It's just past 6:30, and so I'm super excited, super fired up for this football game. It's the MVL champs versus the LCL champs, and this is just about as good as it gets, man. Round 2 of the playoffs. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Max Effort Muscle, maxeffortmuscle.com, best tasting protein in the game, and also Alfie's here in Granville. Those protein bites are insane, so if you find some time, you're in the Granville area, go stop in, get some protein bites, because I recommend them. They're pretty darn good. But we appreciate their support of Stadium Drive here in Week 12 and all season long, and we'll talk to you next week in Week 13, man, round 3 of the playoffs. We're excited to see how this one shapes up tonight, but make sure you follow us on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter,